St. Augustine says that history is the march of God through time, something like that.
There seem to be rather a lot of people marching through time, not all of whom are emissaries of God. How do you decide which ones are the people who are coming to tell us the new dispensation, the interpretation of the Catholic Church, and people who say, well, we're just making it up?
All right. Well, if we look at the Old Testament, and this again is predicated on belief in the Old Testament, so I understand your position on this, but pretend you believe for a moment. We have the prophets who give us predictions about the future, tell us how it's going to pan out, often in relation to punishments of Israel for its sins against God. So there we can see who the good guys and who the villains are.
In those particular cases.
And how the villains are instruments of God often in punishing Israel. Then we have the time up to the destruction of Jerusalem, which a Catholic would say that destruction is related to the rejection of the Messiah by the Jews and was predicted by Daniel the prophet. When you move forward beyond the destruction of Jerusalem, you're in the age that Jesus talked about, where he's built his church and men are brought into it. But you get, at the end of time, the book of Revelation, and from there, you're seeing the end of time at that point. But all the space in between is a great black box, and events will unfold in ways we don't know. We expect that the gospel will spread throughout the world, because Jesus said in say Matthew 28:20, go out and preach the gospel to all nations, and the end of St. Mark's Gospel, chapter 16. But we don't know, apart from those very, very small bits of data, that what will happen in the subsequent centuries to Jesus' ascension into heaven before the end.
But it's surprising, actually. It could almost make me believe that there was guidance by God, because you have all these ideas that are moving around, and we know that people can make a right mess of it. We can also say that lots and lots of them have said that they're from God, even though quite a lot of them are not God. Not many people would vote for the witch hunter now. So how, with all these people running around, do we decide which ones to take any notice of? It might be that the ones that we take the most notice of is that by looking at the way society is going, if we're going to have big wars or whatever, and we can stop that by doing one thing rather than another, then not because God said so, but because we are prepared to say that God said so, for the purpose of getting us through this nasty time and pushing us in a reasonably track of development.
All we have to do is to the only ones to pay attention to are the church and its ministers, nobody else.
People have done that, and it was produced such a reaction, let's say, that the Protestant Church broke away.
Well, some Catholics broke away and became called Protestants, but they weren't reacting. Well, they obviously were Catholics who had a view that the Catholic Church was teaching wrongly in various ways and doing wrongly in various ways. But our point would be, as Catholics, that it's only the church which Jesus established that you can rely on. And if you can't rely on it, you can't rely on Luther and Calvin, because they are mere men with opinions. So if they were right, that the Catholic Church was in error, then we may as well all fold up our books, go home and watch the horse racing.